No. Has the stream gone live? Has it gone live? Because it... Yeah, okay, cool. As long as it's saying it's on live your end. Right, CSS, griddle. Yeah. Why do I even say it with leopard text? What's wrong with it? That's the problem, full fat coat should do me good.
Welcome back to the competitive sports series.
The absolute carnage on this final lap. 5 red lights were in Miami.
Usually I go to Telegram.
Can they regain that place?
I cannot believe my eyes.
Well,
Down the inside into Casio Triangle. This could end in disaster.
So Zach Miles taking the lead. It was an all-or-nothing approach for the TF10 team.
and this could be crucial for NBR.
A race to remember with Jeremy Gallagher.
And they are officially the champions of the season.
It does not get closer than that. What a race. What a
No,
season.
I'm just going to do Finder again and then we'll be good. It was bound to happen. The mute button was actually on, and this time because Ace and I had been speaking about it beforehand, and that was a reason why. But I'm joy none other by Ollie. Ollie, you're going to have to save me through this one because I've already messed up. But we're here for the Mexican Grand Prix at Competitive Speed Series.
Guys, apparently I'm muted as well.
You know what? We really should just start this again, shouldn't we? Anyway, Ollie, you shouldn't be muted now.
Okay, brilliant.
So we'll go again. Ace, thank you very much for stepping in again to go through that. But anyway, Ollie, yeah, Mexico.
Yeah, brilliant Grand Prix. Fast, flowing straight, tight twisted corners in the midfield lane to end the lap in the old baseball stadium as well, which is a brilliant area to spectate at this Grand Prix. So very much looking forward to it. It should be a good one after the last couple of rounds with some great racing at Austria as well as Bahrain in the last two races, Gareth. So hopefully that continues here in Mexico.
Well, let's see what will happen. We've got a fair few drivers on track and the times have already started to come in at 12:09 as Brando starts. Well, with these, I don't want to say the early times, but the banker times have come in definitely. And FRT Raptor, I believe, is just about to start it. OVR Chorizo, I believe, is just about to start. has invalidated, so we won't go there. What about NLR Ryan? Where are you on track? How are you doing? It looks pretty quick so far for the NLR driver. Let's see how he will continue through this middle sector, which can be so tight and twisty, and there is an invalidation there. We are going to expect a fair few invalidations here in Mexico, aren't we, Ollie?
Yeah, you come through Sector 2 and it's a nightmare of an area. You look at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 being a key place where corner cutting can really cost you. We've seen it plenty of times. We saw it in Austria last week, didn't we, Gareth? The amount of people who invalidated their lap times in Spielberg. But this week it's the same again, especially, like I said, in the middle sector and the last sector as well. So one thing for the guys to concentrate on in this Grand Prix, but 3 DRSOs as well, Gareth. So we should see plenty of overtaking if they can obviously make sure they don't invalidate their lap times and cause themselves a load of penalties. But 14 drivers so far with lap times, but it's Brando on top with a 1:12.908, and Azim not far behind him. Top 3 all in the 1:12s, while everyone else in the 13s. We've got a couple of drivers yet to do lap times, but Gareth, lots of early lap times as you can see on the board, and should see a flurry more, I'm sure, as we progress through this session.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. I think Joe Murphy's just about to start a lap time, same as Jerem, who has already been into the pit stop. And the good thing for these drivers is they have to. Well, there's a restart in the lobby. It maybe not be good for everyone, but the restart in the lobby means that these drivers will have that fresh set of tyres for the race, won't they? So if they need that soft tyres, it's very, very rare that drivers will have soft tyres for the race, but it means that they can swap around with the setups maybe and go a little bit different and maybe go for medium setup or hard setup on the setup for the tyres, so they can have that extra set of tyres for the race. But with that, it means that they can have that extra set of lap in qualifying, which means instead of 3 laps of qualifying, we get 4.
Yeah, exactly. It's that reassurance, isn't it, where you've got that extra set just in case. And a lot of the time, Gareth, they don't use that extra set, but it's having that backup just in case. Especially we saw last week in Austria, drivers leaving to the very end of the qualifying session as Murphy jumps up to second with a 1:12.935. Alec Lofer last week, Gareth, with on the very final lap of his qualifying session, managed to get on pole. So, if you can push all the way to the end and use as much tyres as you possibly can, they're there to use. So why not?
Yeah, you've got to use as much as you can. As we go on board with Tony Richet, currently P16, yet to set a lap time. The first of the drivers that have yet to set a lap time here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit, which is quite a tongue twister of a circuit name, isn't it? But some lovely tight twisty parts with some straights where, well, in the middle sector, you don't often see any sort of overtaking, which is where Tony Richet is right now. But coming into turn 12, you can see an overtaking opportunity. It looks like he's on a fast lap as well. And there is a McLaren going quite slow through the stadium sector here. We don't often see overtaking through here, but it can be done. And then round the final 2 corners and hugging that line and across the line, it's P5 currently for the Aston Martin TF10 driver. Yeah,
not too far with his teammates in Brando in first at the moment here in qualifying. He'll be hoping his teammate can go up a little bit more to try and help him out when it comes to the race in about 15 minutes time. Both the BRT drivers and Silo and Murphy up there together. While Sergio down in 9th, a little bit away from his teammate Azim in 3rd place. But again, plenty of time. Talk of the man. Azim takes pole by it's about half a tenth there, Gareth. Great lap time from Azim. We saw how unfortunately last week with his damage to the front wing cost him a heap of time and ended up finishing near the bottom if memory serves me right. So he'll be wanting to redeem himself after last week, I'm sure.
Definitely. And one thing we probably won't see as often on this track is people doing a second install lap, like we did in Austria. I mean, it sounds crazy, innit? 6 seconds a lap slower here, maybe a little bit more, but you won't get that second install lap. You'll just run out of fuel, which is absolutely crazy to say. I don't think there is really that much in it between the two tracks. But let's go on board with Alex Lofer, who's at the hairpin of turn 6 now. And as I say that, they've invalidated, which isn't ideal. His teammate is just going through the start of Sector 2, very close to where his teammate just invalidated, and it looks like he's done it perfectly.
Yeah, hopefully he can negotiate this middle sector nicely now. It's all about how... Oh, there we go. Unfortunately, Ivan has dipped too far across the red and white curb. Then it's going to be an area where guys will get penalties. And we saw it last week in Austria, how crucial it was to keep your car clean. And a few drivers dropped back significantly when it came to the end of the race. And I think that might be the case this evening, but they're pushing so hard in qualifying to try and push themselves up the table, and it's the smallest of margins in the garage. You dip over it ever slightly too much, and that is you invalidating a lap. And unfortunately for Ivan as well, he's had to wait for his teammate to come into the pits, so that's an extra bit of time he's wasted there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that just a few seconds can cost you going back out on lap as well. Let's see what Joe Murphy's just about to start a lap time again. So we've seen him do one lap. Let's see him do another. His teammates just come out of the pits as well. He's got to be able to think, Joe Murphy. I mean, I've seen him time. Oh, he's gone off the track as well. He's made an Well, I say he made an invalidation. He's made a mistake through Sector 1, and that first chicane can be so difficult.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of times where drivers have outbroke themselves and gone straight on. I think in real life, I think it was Verstappen and Hamilton a few years ago, wasn't it, where they both went straight on and cut the grass. And I think that will be, especially down to turn 1. I think, isn't it from the start one of the longest runs into turn 1, if I remember correctly? So it's especially on cold tyres to start this race, Gareth, that's going to be crucial. Obviously, if one of the tyres up in the qualify, so it's not so bad, but come race time, that could be really crucial. So trying to nail turn 1 and 2, and again another area where you can invalidate it. So you're talking at times centimeters you could be over, and that's an invalidation. So it's really crucial for these. But Murphy's going around again, guys. It looks like, rather than going in the pit. So he's managed to save enough fuel, it looks like, to try again here. Currently P3, and so both Silo and Murphy, both the BRT drivers on laps on this occasion, with 6 minutes left of the session.
Oh, big tail snap there from Ryan through the final corner, and you wonder how much of a lap time that would have been had he not made that mistake. Let's see who else could possibly be on a lap time. Nassim is probably the next driver. Let's see what the EVE driver can do in the McLaren as he heads on through the stadium sector now, through into 14 and 15. A little kink here, then into 16, which is quite huggy to that inside, and then just full throttle down, hugging the inside of the start-finish straight, and up to 8th place for the EVE driver there, which isn't too bad. Joe Murphy is just behind his teammate Silo. Silo has invalidated. Tony Richet's up to P3. Still, no one able to displace Azim or Brando on the front row of the grid as things down. But Joe Murphy into the final 2 corners now for the BRT driver. We know how quick he has been. Can he do anything tonight? It's provisional pole for Joe Murphy by a 10th of a second nearly.
Great lap time by Joe Murphy, but has he gone too early, Gareth? There's still another 5 minutes left of the session. He's got time to go around again if he needs to. Whether he does, we'll have to wait and see. His teammate, obviously, there we go. I'm sure Azim must be watching the board or watching the stream at least, as Azim takes pole straight off Murphy once again by 0.02 of a second. There, great lap time by Azim. We've not had really chance to stay on board with him, but he's a man who is fantastic in qualifying, Gareth, and we'll see whether he can convert that in the race now. But great job by Azim. The only 88 driver at the moment in the top 10. I think Sergio's on a lap as well. See where he is on circuit. He's just coming into the second sector now. See whether he can keep up with his teammates as the session progresses. Get 4 minutes, 10 left of the session.
This is going to be an interesting one for Sergioli, as he's slightly up on, or slightly down on his lap time. It's a good lap time for Sector 1. Let's see how this very tight, twisty Sector 2 can go. Through the continual S sector is the best way to describe it, which just opens up a little bit wider through turn 11, just to kick more to the left-hand side through the DRS open zone, but he's down on his lap time. He didn't even open his DRS through the straight between turn 11 and 12, and I don't think Sergi Oli even is going to complete his lap. He's getting to the pits, and that's that done and dusted. Alex Lofer has invalidated, so they're not going to go any further. BRT Silo, who I've seen go from strength to strength in this middle part of the F1 24 game, can they do something? They're currently P5. They're just about to start a lap time, so this is going to be an interesting one for the BRT man.
Yeah, he's got he's the only man on circuit, just as I think that's Ivan coming out on circuit, so we should have a he's going to get a lot of cars in front of him. I appreciate everyone goes, don't they? But it's distraction, especially coming into some of the heavy braking zones or the middle circuit, middle sector. Sorry. So it's small things, but these guys are top level guys, aren't they? So they know what they're doing. So you'd hope that things like that don't distract them. But we're seeing a flurry of cars coming out of the pits. It looks like this will be the final flurry of this qualifying session. And almost everyone, I'm sure, will be out on a lap time. Hopefully everyone can get out on time. We have seen in the past where people have gone a bit too slow on their outlook, Gareth, and they've cost them the actual lap itself. So we'll see if hopefully everyone gets around. But Silo starts the final lap, and I think he will be our first man to what's the term? Not the checkered flag guy, because he's just ahead, but he will be the first man to set a proper qualifying, his final qualifying lap of the session. Hopefully he can get round in one piece.
Let's see what BRT Silo can do, and they got to hope that they don't do any invalidations in that final part of the race, final part of the lap, because they'll want to ensure that if they do it now, they've got enough time to save the DRS, the ERS, and push on and do another lap. But it looks like there is a mistake, because the Ferrari is just going power through. So the BRT team, BRT Silo, has decided to pull out of this lap and go again a little bit later on, a second install lap for them. NLR Ryan then, just about to start a lap. I think Tony Richet's on a lap as well as Ionas and Tony Richet, and possibly Joe Murphy and maybe Ivan as well. But we'll see what NLR Ryan can do.
Yeah, and NRL made a better week. They obviously did really well at Imola, didn't they, with a 1-2 finish, but they struggled last week at Austria, so they'll be hoping for better performance this week. We've got Spicer back, who took a break last week, so we'll see what both drivers can do. Currently 11th and 13th for both the drivers, but Ryan is slightly up on his lap time coming into the third sector here. Tricky stadium section, so tight and twisty, isn't it? Want to try and get the power down as soon as you can without that back end stepping out. But a bit of a understeer there coming into the final corner. Comes round. Can he improve? He does. Up into fourth place with a 1:12.913. Great lap time from him, and that puts him in the top 5.
Joe Murphy is down on his lap time. There's a Aston Martin that spun at the final corner, but Joe Murphy takes provisional pole by 0.05 a second at the moment. Azim surely is on a lap time, but that is a problematic. It's 0.6 of a second, 0.06 of a second down. What about Silo? Where are you on track, Silo? Are you going to do something a little bit more? Oh, no, it was Tony Richet that made a mistake out of the final corner. Let's see what Silo can do. Round the stadium section now, into turn 16, into turn 17. Silo's got... Well, it's a little bit slower for Silo, but it's a 0.7. Very, very close to his teammate. Azim has made a mistake. Where is Brando in all this, who's had a very fast front row for so long, but unfortunately down on their luck, and everyone else, I think that's done and dusted. Where is Raptor on a lap time? I think that's qualifying pretty much done and dusted.
I think so. Final flurry there from the BRT teammates, and they'll be over the moon with that result. Locking out the front row. Azim, unfortunately, invalidated, literally coming into the stadium. Gareth was on board with him as he came into turn 12. Unfortunately for him and his teammate, nowhere to be seen. Sergioli down in 14th, so not ideal for the ET8 team. TF10, I'm sure they'll be happy with 4th and 6th. And then you've got the Ferraris of Alien Gareth. I can't remember. They've not got their abbreviation on there. On their game tags, unfortunately.
No, they're not. I think they're MS, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to.
I'll double check. Apologies, guys.
It's fine. We're all horrendous, but it's all about the BRT team who are locking out the front row of the grid tonight so far with a outstanding qualifying, which is great for them. It's AMR, I believe, but we'll have to wait and see. But quickly running down the order, BRT and BRT absolutely destroying that front row of the grid with Joe Murphy and Silo there. Azim in third with Brando in fourth. Fifth to Ryan with Tony Fouché in sixth. Seventh to Ivan and eighth to Alex Lofer, his teammate Azim. And then it's McLaren's. It's 2x2x2, but in this area it's Alpha Kevin and FRT Dan, FRT Raptor, then Spicer, Sergioli. There's that's unfortunately all I managed to be able to get down for. But we are going to just quickly go for the standings of the season so far. It's 23 points. BRT are behind TF10, and this is a perfect way to get your team back into it by claiming the front row of the grid for qualifying.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. BRT have been, looking at the standings, guys, they've still got a good haul of points. Round 5, obviously not so great for them, but that's definitely something for them to push for now. Potential win tonight could really and potentially take them into the into first in standings. With Sergioli down in 14th, that's not ideal for the TF10 team. Sorry, I thought we were starting there for a second. I panicked for a brief moment. But yeah, no, it's definitely something that they'll be happy with, in this qualifying session, and we'll see how the race goes in 5 minutes time now. But it's it bodes for a good race, at least for BRT. But we'll see how one thing is qualifying, the other thing's a race. It's two, as we've seen plenty of times, Gareth. It can be two different concoctions.
It definitely can. It still gets me every time. Even though I know it's going to be a race restart after qualifying, it still gets me every time. But TF10 leading the way there. Absolutely. They've stepped on the pressure a little bit. And then just a little bit further back from the front two teams, NLR and ET8, just waiting in the wings to see if there's any more mistakes, because BRT did have that little bit of domination earlier on. They look like they've recovered. Unfortunately, we haven't got Tech or Justin here tonight. We have got Joe Murphy and Silo, but it just shows that the strengths of the teams through it. Justin and Tech are very, very good drivers, but so are Joe Murphy and Silo. So we'll have to wait and see how it all pans down. And then there's a little fight in this middle. Actually, AMR are kind of in no man's land with no one really around them. But then you've got IRT, Eversio, OVR, kind of in that middle bit. And then you've got FRT and FGE just at the bottom of it here. Some interesting battles through the standings.
Yeah, apologies. I did confuse ET8 and TF10 there. I do apologise to the audience. My mistake. Yeah, like you said, AMR are in a bit of no man's land, aren't they? They're 171 points off fourth place in ET8, and then they're another 24 ahead of IRT. So it's they'll be hoping to obviously push on. It's so difficult. That gap is so large, but we've still got what have we got 6 rounds left, so plenty of time to get back into it, Gareth. It's just no disrespect to the AMR guys, but how are they able to try and beat the guys ahead when they're so consistent? You look at the points table. There, I've got the breakdown of each race, and it's just all I'm seeing is gold, silver, and bronze in the top teams. While AMR both drivers in round 3 DNF'd, and that's huge, isn't it? We spoke about how points go from first to 15th, and not finishing in any points at all is you shoot yourself in the foot there, aren't you?
Yeah, you certainly are. And well, you quite nicely mentioned about we've got 6 rounds remaining of the season. So Mexico is round 7. That's where we're at tonight. The Mexico City circuit, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit, whatever you want to call it. We're in Mexico for round 7. Round 8 is the Singapore Grand Prix, the Marina Bay circuit. Some incredible races has happened there in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how that the comparison into competitive speed series. Then we got China, the Shanghai circuit there. That's going to be an interesting one as well. Then there is the Mystery Grand Prix, and I love this about competitive speed series. That Mystery Grand Prix just adds a little bit of spice and flavour to it. Then we go to Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, where we, as a commentating duo, have had many a wonderful race. Let's continue on. We've also done a 100% race there, and that was absolutely nuts in itself. And then we round the season off with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, like it is in normal Formula One. And, as much as I'd love Brazil, Sao Paulo end of the season, it is quite nice occasionally to finish a sim racing season at the actual F1 end of season.
Yeah, and I think the circuit's got a lot better over the last couple of years with the change in circuit layout. There's two corners that have changed significantly, haven't they, on the race, and that adds to it. And previously it was difficult to overtake. Go back in memory, I think it was it Alonso and Petrov, if I'm right in thinking, many moons ago. Whereas he was stuck behind him, maybe, but maybe I've got my memory wrong. But yeah, it's I know it's always a lot better in sim racing, as we've seen multiple times. So it's nice to end there, and it's always good race, isn't it? And if there's points on the line, that'll keep it going to the very end of the season, I'm sure. And we'll very good races there. Sitting in the Middle East for most of it, aren't we? But that's not Middle East, Asia. But no, very much looking forward to the end of the season with those races. But we'll see. We got Mexico to concentrate first, haven't we? Before we even think about next week at Singapore.
We definitely do. And on that junction, I suppose it's great to hear your thoughts. Who is going to take the victory here tonight? I would love to know your driver and your team suggestions for victory, I guess is the best way to describe that. So let us know who you think is going to do what tonight. It'll be great to see what you say. Ollie, I'm going to pass that question over to you because soon we will be on track. The lobby is just opening up. We have got the 28 seconds or so for the race start to get them into there. Who do you think is going to take victory tonight?
It's difficult to sway away from the BRT team after that qualifying session. And raining in Mexico. I'd love to know, guys, what the percentage chance that it rains in Mexico. It's like, I know we've had it in the past, but it's like raining in Abu Dhabi. It doesn't happen. In Mexico, it doesn't rain that often. I appreciate it's quite a high circuit from sea level. But wow. Okay. I'm not really sure who to go with. This is really throwing it out there. Obviously, we're expecting it to be a tricky race. I think I'm going to go with Brando. for TF10. I've seen him race quite a lot. I think he's was it third or fourth this evening? Fourth maybe actually. So yeah, I'm gonna go Brando. I think BRT after the last couple of races, a couple of mistakes by the team. So yeah, for me it's Brando for tonight's race.
I just want to quickly cast everyone's eyes onto the flags that are waving on that top line of fans. A, where are the poles? And B, who is actually flying those flags? I know it's the weird things to complain about these games like that, but
Gareth, I'd also argue why they were waving an EU flag in Mexico. Don't get me wrong, lovely flag, but in Mexico, of all places to be, there's two of them as well.
Well, yeah, we do have to remind people there was actually raining yesterday in the PC side of things as well. So, but yeah, I think there's a Polish flag back there, 2 Mexican flags. I think, we do have Valtteri Bottas, so that's fine. But yes, there was plenty of rain yesterday. There's also going to be plenty of rain today by the looks of things. And this adds to a little bit, there's going to be some complaints, I think, from the drivers out there because they're not used to rain here. We've had it, but we're not used to rain at Mexico. So this adds a little extra spice. That means that they have to get off the line really well. And saying that, we are going race side because we're on 5 lights here in Mexico and it looks like a pretty good start from both BRT drivers, but they've got to worry about Azim behind, who is looking like he's trying to get split, the two of them, but I don't think it's going to happen. Brando and Tony Richet, both TF10 drivers, need to do something from there. Is Brando going up the inside? They are going up the inside, but has that blocked Azim off for the next corner? It's so tricky in the wet around here. People are tiptoeing through the corner, but it looks like BRT have done well.
Yeah, they've defended the lead and managed to hold off Azim and Brando there. A bit of contact between Azim and Brando there on the exit of 3, and that's allowed Ryan to get side by side with Brando. Oh, more contact, but they just about hold that car straight. Ryan almost making a mistake there, but they're going to be side by side in the next corner. No, Ryan goes through, but behind Ivan and Tony are side by side. We don't normally see this in the dry, but they're doing it in the wet. Great racing from both the drivers. Still sticking in the outside. You have the into the next part, Tony, but he's had to go off the circuit there and just about stays ahead of the Ferrari for now.
For you football fans out there, Ivan and Tony being together, that's like the old Brentford striker, Ivan Tony. But enough about that. Raptor and Alex Lofa side by side through just exactly pretty much the same bit of track that Ivan and Tony were battling over. Nassim and Alpha Kevin battling side by side as well. This has been a little bit of a subdued, but it is entertaining first lap because it's just added a different aspect with the rain.
Yeah, and it's pretty grey out there. I mean, they're all on Inter. Yeah, everyone's on Inter at the moment, so we'll see whether it gets better or worse. But the top 3 have checked out almost there, Gareth, with a second splitting Azim and Ryan. Obviously, it's a lot more difficult to follow in the rain. I appreciate that. No DRS, obviously, in these conditions, but something to keep an eye on these gaps. Just looking at the winners and losers, looks like Raptor is the best out of the bunch with 3 places, and let's say Brent as well. But Brent and Brian are side by side still, and really pushing hard at the lower end of the table. But points down to 15th, Gareth. They're really pushing, and they're fighting for that last point paying position.
Yeah, they've got to keep on battling, and Brent and now IRT Nick fighting away through this. It was, Spicer, I think it was Brian throwing it up the inside into turn 4 on Spicer, which, there's more contact this time between Brent and Nick, and there's still ever so more. My goodness me, there is front wing damage to Brent's car as we will go towards the top of the grid, as the front 3, as you quite rightly mentioned, have decided to push out a little bit. As well, break away, and Azim is trying to keep up with the two BRTs. The BRTs have done a very, very good job opening stint in this race.
Yep, they have. They've kept it clean and they're working together. I'm sure they're with no DRS. They have to use slipstream only to try and eke the gap out over Azim. But Azim is still close enough to benefit from that slipstream, guys. So they're going to have to try something a little bit different if they want to drop their third place man in all this. But the gap is 1.3 between third and fourth. So we'll see whether that goes up or down in this. I'm sure Ryan could do with both TF10 drivers catching up and helping out here in the early echelons of this Grand Prix.
Side by side through. Oh my goodness, you don't. Turn 7. Spicer and Brian side by side. Now comes FRT Dan through the mix as well. But Spicer has finally lost the position to Brian. But they're 2 seconds now away from the rest of the grid ahead. Up the inside, Dan decides to back out in the end. But my goodness me, it is a little bit chaotic throughout this. Silo's the fastest man on the track. They've broken away from Azim. It's 1.1 seconds between Silo and Joe Murphy. And is this about to be the BRT show?
Could well be. I mean, it's still early, guys. That's the problem. We're 4 laps in. The conditions could change. We just don't know. But I think now that crucial, it's the second, between second and third. That's really going to cost Azim, and Ryan isn't catching up anytime soon. So we're going to have to be wary of these gaps if they start to form. But again, conditions could change. Safety car, or who knows, Gareth? So many things can switch up this Grand Prix, and Azim seems to be clawing that gap back now to the top 2.
Yeah, I think they've had to deploy the ERS to ensure that they don't lose too much as we stay on board with Ryan and Tony Richet for the battle for P4, because Brando's dropped away a little bit towards the backs. Alex Lothar doesn't have an answer in the ARM team, and neither does Ivan, but Ivan has Raptor for company. So maybe let's drop down a little bit, because Raptor is trying their best to get themselves a good position here and all over the back of Ivan. And both the Ferrari team drivers, the ARM team, really need some points tonight.
They do. Yeah, it's crucial after obviously to try and claw something back to the top teams, but unfortunately those top teams are ahead of them. I appreciate NRL, only one of them is ahead, which will help slightly. Same with ET8. But if Ivan and Alex can hold the position here, I'm sure they'll be pretty happy in all this. But again, it's all about closing those gaps, and Ivan increasingly feeling more under pressure by Raptors, getting close in these on the long 2 kilometer straight we have here in Mexico. But both the EVE boys aren't far away either, with Nazim and Kevin just one's in the top 10 and one's obviously just outside in 10th and 11th. But still, train is starting to form in the midfield. I'm sure if Ivan catches to his teammate, then he'll be Brando trained. Then has Brando got damaged, guys? Because he dropped back significantly from his team. It doesn't look like on screen. Just trying to find every angle possible. But yeah, can't see any damage. So just struggling maybe in these wet conditions.
Yeah, it looks like there's slight. Well, it's got to be the wet weather that has thrown them off. Whether it will dry, I don't think it will. Matteo in the chat is saying it won't dry. It's always nice to get a little bit of inside information. And if it doesn't dry, then we can only see drivers continue to improve and improve. But BRT definitely now have Azim for company, as we just saw behind that Tony Richet and Ryan have swapped places as well. So maybe Tony has a little bit more pace about them as well. And there is going to be a swap between Raptor and Azim as they come into turn 1. Raptor's going to fight it, but I don't think there's going to be the grip around the outside. There isn't, and Raptor's dropped down to 10th. And then Azim, the EVE driver, is up into 9th place.
Yeah, he'll be pleased with that move, pushing up into 9th place now, and Ivan, the next man on his hit list, and he's not got the help of a teammate either. Ivan knows Alex is fighting Brando up ahead, so he's on his own at the moment, so he's not going to be too happy with that. But Azim pushing on, and he's dropped Raptor already. 7-10 splitting him, and Raptor now struggling. I don't know whether is it the rain getting more significant? Maybe, Gareth, is it time for full wet potentially? We'll have to wait and see what the drivers decide to do in this session. But Alex pushing Brando here in 7th place. It's waiting for any mistake from the TF10 driver to capitalise on that. Potentially get by on the slipstream here as they start lap 7.
Yeah, there's a nice dry line forming, and wets really are only required in treacherous condition. Plenty of people. The spray isn't that bad yet, but maybe it is something that we'll have to watch out for a bit later on. But you don't want to destroy these tyres, and Nordic is very right in the chat saying trying not to destroy the tyres in these conditions is very difficult. It is very difficult indeed, as we could very well go full free wide, as Sergioli trying to make a move on the second EVE driver, but it just wasn't happening. And you get off the racing line, and it gets very difficult to ensure an overtake.
Well, exactly. You can see that dry line forming. Oh, as Kevin dips a wheel into the wet area, and you can see the back end stepping out there. Luckily, he keeps full control of that car. But exactly what you mentioned, that wet line is significant. You can see it quite clearly on the circuit, and that is a dangerous part of the circuit, especially as the tyres get a bit more worn in this session. And trying to go side by side on worn tyres on the wet line isn't fun at all, I can tell you that. But Sergioli drops back slightly after that attempted move, and we'll have to try again on Kevin on the next time around. There's a couple of penalties starting to come in. I think that's Jonas down in 20th, struggling. But say that their tyres still feeling good for Silo with and Alex flying through with some 21-minute 24s as they cross the line that time around. So two drivers still feeling pretty good, as Ryan has dropped a place to... No, I take that back. I thought...
He's just overtaken Tony, so
sorry.
those two swapping positions to try and find a way back up to the leaders. And Ryan's made a little bit of a mistake at the exit of turn 3, but it's not... Well, it's forced Tony into the wet line, and it's just not given the grip for it. The leaders, well, just doing what they need. They're not swapping positions or anything, so they just need to... Well, they're doing what they can for the time being. Let's go back to Raptor and the battle for P8, because there's 5 cars here battling away lovely.
Yeah, they are switching positions, but they still need to work together if they want to try and bring Brando into their sphere. After Alex got past, they haven't really been able to drag him into the battle for what would be P7 if Brando got involved with it all. But they've been a bit quiet the last lap also, but I'm sure that could light up any minute now with a mistake by one of them in this pack. But we'll see what they can do. But back at the front, Gareth, Azim's looking quite close to the front too, but again not close enough as Silo goes by Murphy. Does Azim go for it as well? No. Ooh, he misses his braking point, and he goes into the back of Silo there. I don't think there's any damage on the front of that Alpine there, Gareth, but Azim, bit of overspeed from the slipstream and almost ended his race, or maybe ended Silo's races. Jonas has retired from the session. I think that's in the pits though, so unfortunately for FGE, Gareth, it's gone from bad to worse with Jonas out of the Grand Prix. But yeah, bit of a hairy moment for Azim in the turn 1 there.
Yeah, that could have been nasty, and well, if they'd taken out a BRT driver leading this one, that could have... Well, just imagine the stewards report through that. But thankfully, they, Ace and well, I don't know if Ace is on that, but thankfully the stewards don't need to worry about that one anyway. But let's go. Well, let's stay on board with this one, because Azim is starting to just turn up the wick a little bit, see if they can get a move done on the leaders. Ryan and Tony have started to catch the gap for them a little bit as well. Are we going to start seeing a little bit of gamemanship, I suppose, from BRT? Where are they going to decide to increase the gap to the leader going into this start-finish straight, and then allow Joe Murphy or whichever driver to do what they can to overtake, like we've seen a few times through this. But it's very, very tight into turn one. Azim's trying to go around the outside of Joe Murphy. This is very, very tight, and Azim, well, nearly gets cornered out there at turn two. And Joe Murphy keeps the position for the time being, and now Brent has retired, and that's both FGE drivers out of this race.
Yeah, they struggled. They were quite a margin off the back of the what would be the OVR guys, who are still in contention, obviously, on circuit. But FGE not ideal, and like we said in the past, guys, case cars can change things up, and they could have been in chance of the points, but unfortunately both drivers decide to bow out in the first third of this race, unfortunately. But Azim just couldn't get close, couldn't get further enough side by side with Murphy there, and he'll try again on this occasion, I'm sure. But the way both the BRT drivers are positioning their cars is making it so much harder for Azim to try and get by. They're pushing him to the outside, as Murphy struggled there on the exit of 16 there, so that could allow Azim back up as Ryan at the new fastest lap of the race. But Gareth, look, Ryan and Tony are both catching the front three here.
Yeah, 1.3 well, 1.5 now. Azim's trying to go around the outside into turn one yet again, and Joe Murphy looks like he might have actually lost the position this time around. He has done indeed, and that is Joe Murphy down to third place for the first time in this Grand Prix. It's not BRT sitting in 1 and 2. We're on lap 11 of 36. We've lost both FGE drivers, and Joe Murphy maybe showing signs of struggling in this wet weather condition.
Yeah, I think he's still up there, guys. He may be struggling on the last couple of laps, but I think it was a case that he wasn't close enough to his teammate on exit, and that cost him on the slipstream. And Azim, obviously good exit out of 16 and 17, has helped him out. But what will be crucial here is whether he gets dragged into Ryan or he can stay with Azim in third place here. So keep an eye on that. And he's already, I say that guy, he is making mistakes. He's already half a second behind Azim. So could this be the downfall of Murphy? Could he have maybe pushed those tyres, as one of the guys said in the chat earlier on? And maybe it's he's on a downward trajectory now on those tyres. But we'll keep an eye on this front battle, as Ryan has now dragged it into within a second of the top three. So Ryan and dragging Tony through it as well. Azim fastest lap of the race. Keep an eye on this man for ET8.
Azim's trying the best. Tony Richet just took it off as well. So it was a battle, well, a three-way battle for the lead. It's now a five-way battle for the lead of this Grand Prix. Alex Lofer and Brando's getting very close in the background, but I don't think there's going to be a swap in positions there. Alpha Kevin just behind Raptor as well. That battle for P8 is still hotting up as well, all the way down to P12 in to Sergio there. And it's, well, it's like, and I know we say it quite often, it's quite like a game of chess, isn't it? You know, you don't want to show your hands too often.
Yeah, especially way in the rain. It's you're trying to think, you know, a couple of moves ahead in chess, and it's like the same here. It's so difficult to try and predict where people go, and it's made harder in the rain. So they're trying their best here. We'll have to wait and see how it all pans out, and who will get the checkmate at the end of this Grand Prix. But unfortunately, we have our first man on circuit with penalties after Jonas's retirement. Raptor has got a 3-second time penalty, which isn't ideal at all, as Murphy going really wide here. I think trying to stay within the slipstream of Azim in second, as there we go, Nick gets a 3-second time penalty as well in this session. So yeah, no overtaken from the top 5 there, but Ryan now within 7-10. So he's eking that gap down bit by bit, chipping away, but not within. Well, it's within slipstream, but not able to make any overtakes just yet in this session. But yeah, it's all quieted down for a second, hasn't it, Gareth? We had the flurry of overtakes in the last couple of laps, and it's all quieted down for a second. The eye of the storm, maybe.
Maybe, and well, it is raining, so the storm is very much a apt metaphor through that. It's better than my according, as you will know from previous streams. These guys probably won't at all. But yeah, it definitely looks like Azim is trying to get a little bit more of the wet part of the track, maybe to cool the tyres down a little bit, because Joe Murphy is at this time around a lot closer to Azim. This is very reminiscent of the lap when Azim got past Joe Murphy. Is it going to be a swap of positions for these two drivers? Azim's got a really good exit out of the final corner into lap 14, and I think Joe Murphy, well, they don't have a hand to play just yet, but Ryan and Tony Richet are going to swap places. They head into turn 1. It isn't even going to be side by side. Tony Richet managed to just fly on by.
Yeah, great move by Tony, and Ryan thought better of it to try and defend that, and we'll see whether Tony can attack Murphy here. Murphy just had a poor exit out of 17, didn't he? And the wheels spinning up a little bit, and Azim managed to get the power down and sort of ran away with it into turn 1 there. But now it's Tony's turn to try and catch up with Murphy. Obviously, it's been a 3-way battle for the majority of this race, and that's now becoming a 5-way battle for the lead here. If Tony and Ryan can keep up with the top 3 here, and it looks like they are now within half a second of the top 3, so it's getting heated with the top runners here. But Azim hasn't been able to challenge Silo whatsoever since getting past Murphy a couple of laps ago. So Silo keeping that car in the right direction and consistently lapping at a good pace to try and keep ET8 Azim in second. Then Azim makes a mistake out of 17. Could this be... Oh, and Murphy, bit of a slap of oversteer there as Chorizo gets time penalty. But again, I don't think Murphy's close enough, guys. The gap is only going up between himself and Azim in second.
Yeah, it's very, very much chess at the moment, and Ryan struggling now after showing some great pace. Ryan has just, I don't know whether they've just used all their ERS allocation and they're just trying to save back up. I'm not 100% sure, but the teammate Ryan's teammate, Spicer, has front end plate damage, so that could explain why the NLR driver is down in 13th place and not a little bit higher up and just dropping pace. I think they've just dropped 2 places there down the start-finish straight, and not the start-finish straight, sorry, down the second straight, I suppose, between turn 3 and 4, and it's just going from bad to worse because FRT Dan is all over the back of them.
Yeah, not ideal for Spicer and Dan. I'm sure want to get. He's going to get stuck behind him in this section now, and Spicer's going to struggle a lot with that damage and limited. And the back end steps out significantly on Spicer's car there. You've got to be careful not to overdo it here. Dan's trying to go around the outside. You have the inside for the next corner. Spicer pushing him right to the inside there, not allowing him through. A little bit of contact there, but Dan's going to struggle here to get by in the stadium section. He's going to have to wait till he gets onto the main straight to try and force a move to get past Spicer here. Spicer still not be able to keep up with Brian, who's ahead of him here. But Dan, can he get him on the straight? I think he's too far back, potentially, Gareth.
Yeah, this is... I don't think so. I think it's okay for the time being, but their back ends aren't... both of them... both Spicer and Dan's back tyres just stepped out a little bit, nearly tank slapped in various points. So, yeah, problematic areas, and NLR really need Spicer to do some good time... good times, but also good points tonight. Let's go back up to what is now the front 4, because Ryan has dropped away.
Yeah, 1.5 splitting 4th and 5th, and Ryan will be disappointed with that, and he'll be dragged into the fight for 6th with Alex if he's not careful. So try and claw his way back up. Whether he can, we'll have to wait and see for Ryan. And it's not ideal to be in no man's land. 2.1 off 4th now, so really not ideal for Ryan, as we've seen some pit stops. And I mentioned the driver Ryan coming into the pits, and I assume a fresh set of inters.
Here comes Azim into the lead of the Grand Prix. It's going to be side by side. No, it's not. Silo concedes the position into turn 1. And Azim, for the first time in 17 laps, we have a new leader of this Grand Prix. And what I will just add, it's very unlikely that this is going to happen. But in wet tyres or wet weather conditions, you don't have to pit. So if they want to be brave, they can go to the end of the Grand Prix. But I don't think that's going to happen because they're struggling, I think, for time. Spicer has retired at turn 1. What has happened to Spicer? Let's see. It's a safety car. It's a full safety car. Can we see Ryan's car? We can't. It looks like Ryan's just gone straight on with an incident at turn 1. And this is going to be a free pit stop for a lot of drivers. Silo and Joe Murphy, not ideal.
No. If anything, Ryan's in the best place. Who came in the last lap is unfortunately his teammate is out of it, and you mentioned how crucial it is to have both drivers finish this Grand Prix. But Spicer didn't see what happened, unfortunately, but he will be out of this Grand Prix. So yeah, we'll see what happens here now. Azim obviously taking the lead, and they'll all dive in the pits, I'm sure. As there they go, and Silo, I don't know what happened. They had to slow down slightly coming into it. Oh no, and that's a 10-second penalty. Speeding in the pit lane. That's his race over and done with, Gareth.
Oh goodness me! Are they gonna? They're not. They're just gonna service straight away, which is probably for the best for the BRT team. But I believe Spicer may need a new wheel because they're saying his wheel disconnected. If their wheel did disconnect, that is disconnected again because it disconnected on. Where is Ryan in all this? Oh goodness me! Let me go on Ryan for goodness sake. Ryan has managed to stay in P5, so it didn't. It didn't do that. But Spicer's wheel disconnected on Friday night, I believe, as well. So unfortunately, not ideal. Not ideal through that. But Silo, 10 seconds penalty. It's going to be, well, not ideal at all. They're not going to pit again. Unless this is another safety car, and if there is another safety car, they may pit then to wipe out that 10 seconds and get fresh tyres. That's one way to do that.
I thought you couldn't serve it under a safety car.
I think it's only on
The first one.
You can't do it going into the pits. The pits that you do it, you get your penalty from, so they can't serve it that time. So they could pit now and get rid of that, but they will likely end up in 15th, 14th, 15th through all this.
Yeah, it depends.
Not ideal.
Depends how confident he feels in overtaking all those cars. We'll see what he does here. He's going to serve it now, Gareth. So see, hopefully he doesn't make the same mistake again. Right down this time around. So he'll serve it again. It looks like, and yeah, he's gonna drop way down the order, isn't he? In all this. There we go. Paused for 10 seconds, and he will be coming out in 16th place in all this. Not ideal for Silo, and he's getting a new set of tyres, which it's an extra, couple of seconds. I know it's not much, but he'll pop out in 16th. Only a position away from getting points, so Gary. But BRT were controlling that race for 17 laps, and now it's all gone to pot, unfortunately. With obviously Murphy still up there, obviously in third, but Silo's got a lot of work to do to try and get through. And he is a very good driver, and I'm sure he will do plenty of overtaking, so keep an eye on him as he progresses through the grid. But it's it's going to be hard work for him to try and get up to where he was previously, which it might not even be able to do, Gareth.
Well, we've seen how quick BRT, and you know what, I would say if it was an ET8 driver, TF10 driver, or a BRT driver, if any of them could go through the grid, it would be one of those teams, so it would be interesting to see how it will go down. But, safety car, just nullifies everything. Everyone is now back together. I wonder if we're going, part of the reason I think the gaps formed is because people were getting used to the wet weather. Are we going to see a lot tighter race now?
Could well be. Cold tyres on the restart, it's bad enough on dry tyres, let alone wet tyres. And I've made a mistake many a time of after the restart in wet weather conditions and going straight on at turn 1 and either ending my own race or losing a heap of positions. So, excuse me. So yeah, we'll see what how this all pans out shortly, Gareth. But everyone on the back of the train now. I say that those Raptors in the pits as well, as is Chorizo. So they're not happy with their choices. Maybe I'm not sure what they're doing here. So another set for him. No front wing change. So I'm unsure why he's done that, Gareth. And both on inters. So yeah, not sure what happened there.
I am assuming that they just want the freshest tyres of all. It's not much difference, but they were towards the back anyway, so there's no loss, I suppose, for them. It's push Silo up a position. So that's that's good for the BRT team. And sorry for confusing everyone in the chat with my aimless ramblings about whether people can go in the pits on and serve the penalty straight away or not, or whatever, because I think I've confused people. So apologies. And yes.
It was more my confusion because I didn't understand the rules, guys. So I'll take I'll apologise to the chat. I now know for next time that you can serve it under the safety car, just not on the lap that you made the error on into the pits.
So, safety car is in this lap. I wonder when Azim decides to go. And let us know if you change your prediction on who's going to take your race victory, because BRT aren't controlling this one anymore. It is now ET8 and TF10 on the front, well, what would be the front row of the grid. They're first and second, respectively, with a BRT driver in third and 15th. All has changed. When does Azim decide to push down the pedal to go? And that's a terrible camera angle to try and figure out when they're going to go. It's still very slow through turn 17 and power down now. And Azim has got a pretty decent getaway, but I don't think Tony has let him get away. Onto the real wet stuff, off the dry line here in Mexico, back onto the dry line as they head on down into turn 1. It looks like TF10 Tony is going to take the move into turn 1. He has to pull back out. He can't commit to the move, and that is Azim into the lead fully of this Grand Prix.
Absolutely, yeah. Great defending from him, and Tony just didn't feel confident on the brakes on these fresh, cold tyres, as I think Sergio got past Ivan in the background as well, but the whole grid bunched back up together after that safety car, and Tony makes a move into... God, that's turn 6, didn't see that happening, and he muscles out Azim. I don't think Azim was expecting a move there, Gareth. Left the door open, and that is Tony into the lead of the race.
Deep into turn 4, mistake into turn 5, but perfect exit, and has got the lead of this Grand Prix, has Tony Richet, and that is, an outstanding move from the TF10 driver. ET8 now has a little bit of pressure on them. NLR Ryan will look to do what they can do, but don't forget, Ryan has had nearly an extra lap of pace put onto the tyres than everyone else, so he might struggle through all this. Azim all over the back of Tony Richet then through turn 17, and I think Tony could be in trouble.
Yeah, Azim's designed his car to be so quick in a straight line. You saw that with Murphy earlier on, and he flies past Tony there, and unfortunately didn't hold the lead for very long in this restart of the Mexican Grand Prix. Jody gets past Alex as Azim gets past Ivan, so both the Ferrari boys struggling in the early part of this restart, but Azim takes the lead back here, and I'm sure he'd make sure not to go straight on this time around. He's got a little bit deeper there, but I don't think is enough for Tony to get side by side again. No, it's not, as Ivan still attacking back at Azim, and he's got back through, Gareth.
Yeah, some great racing there. I couldn't get off board with that one because that was so tight and twisty between them, and Yeah, some great racing. Let's go back to the leaders as this has really kicked off now. Everyone is kind of used to the wet weather now, so they're all onto a similar pace. There is that break in the train from Ivan to his teammate Alex, but Alex is back into this battle for the lead of this Grand Prix. That top 7 can win this race.
Absolutely, yeah. Sergioli obviously getting his elbows out on the restart, but got past both the AMR drivers on the restart. Azim quickest there. Can anyone make a move here? Could be Ryan, but I don't think anyone's close enough. Tony's not going to catch up in enough time in all that, and I think we'll stay level pegging coming into turn 1 here. No one really close enough to make any moves, it looks like, unless it's something at the very back. I take that back. It's Raptor, Chorizo and Brian all fighting away, trying to get a point in this race. Just an update on Silo, up to 13th, Gareth, so he's up 2 from where he started.
It's good for Silo. He's making moves, and we say that he's up into 12th now. Silo trying to get through this grid. He needs to do it quickly because that gap between Alex and his teammate Ivan is only growing, and you don't want to get caught in no man's land, even if you've got the pace. Here comes, well, the lead of the Grand Prix. Azim doing a very, very good job. He's now pulling, well, he's pulling a little bit of time over Tony, and Tony's, well, as standard when it comes to F1, some drivers are quicker than others, and Raptor is gone. Is that a VSC? It is a VSC. Raptor is out, I think, at turn 7, at turn 8, I should say.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened. Obviously, the back end stepped out and he's in the wall. And second safety car of the Grand Prix, Gareth.
Yeah,
and it's now a full safety car.
Yeah, it's gone from a VSC to a full safety car. I wonder if anyone now will decide to pit again. There are a little bit of games from those guys. Interesting to see Azim and Tony and Joe Murphy trying to pull people into the pits to say that they're going to do it. What?
Nick and Kevin. Oh no! So Nick decided to go side by side with Kevin on pit entry, cause a collision, and now he's got a 10-second penalty. So by trying to overtake Kevin in the pit lane, which technically he has done, guys, because he's come out ahead of him, but he's caused himself a 10-second penalty for that collision. Not sure what was going through his head there. Appreciate Kevin was maybe going a little bit slow into the pits, but that's cost him. I don't know if there's no damage to Kevin's car. Let's see, have a look on Nick. Just waiting for the left side. Now both got end plates in both cars, but yeah, a lapse of madness. Well, no, a moment of madness, I'd say, from Nick there.
Well, you can overtake under the safety car going into the pits, which sounds really weird. You're kind of in race trim at that point. So very, very interesting that Nick's decided to do it. I see it quite often now. It's quite a common thing in sim racing, which, you know what, I would just be happy going into the pits without picking up damage. But that's me personally. These guys are purebred racers, so they probably won't want that at all. Nordic bringing up a good kind of point. The 10% better tyre wear that you're going to get could come in handy towards the end of this race.
Okay, that's interesting. But where of those guys? So Nick done an 11th. I appreciate the 10% extra they'll have, but like is right? Can Kevin challenge Silo with the pace he was on? Maybe. Obviously, maybe later on in the Grand Prix that could be something that they push on. Obviously, the rest of Nick, Kevin, Dan, M97 down to 14th, Schritt. So they've all, and Brian as well, all on fresh tyres. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, guys. I mean, absolutely, that extra tyre is going to help them. But whether they can pull the moves off is another thing completely.
Well, we will wait and see. You know what? I am surprised that Silo didn't pit, considering he was in that group. Silo didn't pit to do it. I felt like that would have been a perfect opportunity. Imagine Silo with the pace he's got, and we know he's got, and to have that better tyre wear. But if Silo thinks he can fight through this field with he has, I think he can, even with the tyres that he's got. He's a very quick driver, but has he got enough to take a podium or the win? I'm not sure. Not when you've got Azim, Tony and Joe Murphy in that front three. But the safety car is in this lap. Let's see if Azim can have a good getaway this time around.
Yeah, well, held Tony off last time around. We'll see whether he can do it. Azim's car's very quick in a straight line. So he just went on the sort of entry to 17. We'll see whether he goes a little bit later this time around. Just on board with Tony. Come round the final two corners. He's gone a little bit earlier than last time. Back end trying to step out. It's almost like trying to control a bull coming around that final corner on Azim's car. But Tony is closer this time around. But I don't think that car ahead is going to let him through. No, Tony not close enough. And Azim holds the lead here as he comes through turn 1 and 2.
This is, well, Joe Murphy was a little bit lost coming out of that last corner. Both of Tony and Azim's cars back end stepped out at 17, and you wonder what sort of damage that's going to do to the back tyres of these cars if they keep on doing that. But at the moment, it's all good. It's all kind of set in a way. Nick has already lost nearly a second to Silo, so the fresh tyres hasn't really worked for Nick. Silo is getting past Nazim in turn 6 there. But is it worth having a look at what Silo's doing right now? Because even, well, in the middle of the grid, Silo is just proving he has got the pace.
Yeah, flying past Nazim there, did the switchback coming into turn 6, and got through. He's got Ivan to deal with up next, and then he got Alex after that. But we'll see what he can do here. Same laps on pretty much lap where... Oh no, so Silo came in again, didn't he? So he's got slightly better tyres, and that could be all the difference. Azim, new fast lap of the race of 1:22.968 from our current race leader. But can Murphy get past Tony? He's closing, but it's not going to be enough. He tries to the outside, but don't think he's close enough to make a move on this occasion. Silo getting past someone then. I think there's a bit of damage off one of the cars there, guys. Didn't see which car it was. Could it be Nick? Maybe. Didn't see what happened, but yeah, someone's got damage in the background.
Yeah, it is Nick. There's front end plate damage to that Haas, and even on the fresh set of tyres, that is going to that is going to be heartbreaking. And there's some squabbling going on between Jerem there, the OVR driver, and Nassim, and the EVE drivers who were battling quite handily with Alex Loafer and Ivan are down in 11th and 12th. I've only just noticed that. That is, well, harsh for them after such a good start to this Grand Prix. They're just not with it at the moment. Alpha Kevin, who obviously got jumped by Nick, and Nick getting that penalty for the contact into the pit lane, trying to find a way back through. Back to the leaders. Everyone please ignore the safety car sign. We aren't under safety car anymore. It is just a glitch to this lovely F1 24 game as we continue to find out who is going to be the victor in this Grand Prix. We had BRT leading for so long, but it is now Azim that leads this race for the ET8 team, and TF10 Tony Richet trying to find a way through. That's Joe Murphy having a little look up the inside of Tony, but it's nothing doing at the moment.
Yeah, just not there at the moment. Azim's so good out the final corner. Second and third just can't challenge him, so they're going to have to try and nail the final corner and get through, or maybe try somewhere else. But it's so difficult to overtake at this circuit, as I think that's Kevin getting past Nick finally down into 4. But the top guys still pretty close together. I mean, Brando's struggling a little bit. It's almost a second between himself and Ryan, so he'll be wanting to close a gap if he can. Like I said, doesn't want to end up in no man's land with no slipstream from the car ahead. So if you can nail the last couple of corners, you should be okay. But again, no moves from the top guys just yet. There's him trying to break away, but just can't at the moment, Gareth, with how quick Tony and Murphy are behind him.
Ryan's just clinging to the coattails. We saw the back tyres of Ryan though Oh, BRT Silo with a 3-second time penalty. That's going to throw him down the order a little bit, even with Ivan dropping pace a little bit. And all of Silo's hard work has come undone after at first getting that 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not ideal for the BRT team or driver as we head on to lap 29 of 36. It's been rather entertaining so far, and we have lost 4 drivers. Raptor losing it at turn 8 or turn 7 into 8, and Spicer wheel disconnecting into turn 1 are the reasons we've had 2 safety cars this evening. But at the moment, it is, well, Ivan and Nick battling away side by side through there. Oh, goodness me. There is contact, and Nick has been half spun into turn 5.
Yeah, I didn't have the best angle. I wasn't sure whether Nick took too much speed or Ivan thought he already got past him there, or defending the position, but you know he was behind. But not the case. As Ryan in 4th gets a penalty. It's gonna be huge come the end of the race, like Silo as well. But yeah, unfortunately Nick struggling now with that damage, and it's affecting him quite significantly down to 13th now, and a late move from Dan up the inside into the stadium. But it's almost bumper cars with these guys at the back, Gareth, and yeah, not the cleanest of racing in these conditions, but it's tricky. It really, really is.
Yeah, it certainly is, and the gloves definitely feel like they're off at the moment, and NLR Ryan picking up a penalty for their troubles. Sergio trying to get through Brando. This Robbins racing definitely in an F1 car right now, and that is Brando losing a position to the ET8 driver, Sergio. And all of a sudden, ET8 have got a little bit of a nice points haul here.
Yeah, well, we spoke earlier how Sergioli was nowhere in qualifying, and you know he's up 9 places from where he started. You know, contender for driver of the day at the moment with his rise up the grid, and he'll have at least 4th with a penalty that Ryan has got. But you know, if he keeps going, he could even push for 3rd. You know, we've got 6 laps remaining. You have to get a move on as Brian gets a penalty as well. And obviously Brando's not finished with Sergio just yet, but definitely something to keep an eye on as he come to the last couple of laps of this Grand Prix.
Sergio 1.3 seconds behind Ryan. Ryan nearly losing out to the front 3, and the front 3 have been, well, pretty epic since BRT lost the lead, and Joe Murphy has just stayed with these guys, even though he's looked like he hasn't got the overall pace, but he's moved to the inside of Tony Richet. Joe Murphy might be showing his hand now into 2nd place, and he's got Azim in his sights. He's still side by side with Tony Richet though, and there's a bit more contact as they come through turn 2, but I think Joe Murphy has managed to get the move done, and Ryan is getting involved with Tony Richet. They're similar to side by side, but nothing doing in the end. Actually, I say that, here he is around the outside of turn 4. Is Ryan going to throw a spanner in the works for the TF10 driver?
Oh, he almost just about keeps the car in pointing in the right direction. He's gone deep into 6th there. Can Tony get back at him? No, he can't. And Tony goes from 3rd to... Sorry, 2nd. Apologies, 2nd to 4th in 4 corners. Not ideal for him. And Ryan just right place at the right time with the battling between Murphy and Tony, but that battling has opened up a 1.5 second lead here for Azim, and it could be him checking out and into the sunset here.
Yeah, this has, well, music to Azim's ears, kind of music to Joe Murphy's ears as well, because he's pulled a nice gap to Ryan behind. It's only 0.9 of a second, but that is pretty good stuff as Tony's trying to get past Ryan again. Tony round the outside of the start-finish straight, if that's a thing, and up into P3. But Joe Murphy is 2 seconds behind Azim. That is astonishing. And Azim surely has got this victory in the bag.
Yep, just to keep that car pointing in the right way, Gareth, and not get any penalties, and the race is his. And great for ET8 as well, is with that battling, Sergioli's managed to catch up with Ryan and Tony, so it could be a double podium for ET8. Obviously, Sergio's got to not only got to get past Ryan, who obviously he'll overtake naturally with a penalty, but he's got to get past Tony as well, both on circuit, unless Ryan can get by him before then, and he can attack Tony. But we'll have to wait and see. But they're dragging Murphy back into this as well. Murphy hasn't checked out at all, and it's now 2.7. So is there damage to that side of the car? I don't think there is, but maybe he's just been sort of what's the words? Maybe he's just been a bit
Tentative, maybe.
Yeah, or he was a bit shocked by all that, and he needs to get back into the groove of things, Gareth.
Maybe. Let's see how the pressure hands to him as Tony Richet follows him to the wet side of the track, and it's still raining here in Mexico, and look at that, it's very, very close, and I think Sergio surely up the inside of Ryan, and he's broken deep, and there's a little bit of back end swiddle there, and Ryan has kept the position, but my goodness me, that was very, very close into turn one, and it's still going on now.
Watch out for Brando around the outside of the Alpine, and watch out for Alex Loeffler in the background as well, side by side between the Alpine and the Ferrari, but just about, they're all trying to squeeze through. There's barely room for one car, and there's Sergio off the circuit in the background as well, side by side between Alex and Sergio. Gets a penalty as well in all this. It's all kicking off with 3.5 laps remaining of this Grand Prix. Brando into 5th now, Sergio down to 6th, Alex still in 7th. Silo in the background has appeared as well. It's all kicking off.
Yeah, wow. At the moment, it's the 2nd to 9th is anyone's game. It could happen, it could change. Brando is 1.1 seconds behind Ryan, though, so Sergio is in a little bit of a problem area because the ET8 driver was so close to becoming on the podium, but all of a sudden, doesn't look like it's happening that way, as Nassim picking up a penalty for EVE. Down in 11th place, the penalties are coming in thick and fast now, and here we go into lap 34 of 36. Let's go to Tony Richet. Is he going to be able to get a move done on BRT? They are not on this occasion, and my goodness me, the top 4 drivers are 4 different teams. It's things you really like to see, that the teams are quite evenly matched.
Absolutely, as Kevin gets by Alex there as well, and Silo just sitting and waiting to pounce in the background as well. But exactly 4 different teams in the top 4, and all 4 teams are the ones competing for the title as well, Gareth, which is great to see. Just Ryan with that penalty is going to cost him at least a couple of positions there, unfortunately, as well as Sergioli and Silo. Just wanted to have a quick look at the guys who stopped later on. Kevin has caught up with a few drivers, but keep an eye out for him because he could jump up a few places with obviously fresh tyres and also no penalties for him.
Yeah, Kevin looking like they could get a good steal of points because of this. The back up to where they were from before the first safety car. So it looks looking all right. We have not spoken about Azim. Azim has not really checked out, but he's off in the distance. He's not letting the squabbles of the cars behind worry him. They've done a very, very good job in leading this on the penultimate lap. And at the moment, it's all a little bit eked to a little bit of quietness. And we're going to stay on board with the battle for P2 between BRT and TF10.
Yeah, Tony trying to get by. Just can't get past Murphy coming into turn 1 and 2. Just needs to try and nail the final corner to get a good launch, to try and pursue and get past that green car. And I'm sure he's bored of seeing that unleashed on the back of that ring as Kevin gets a penalty. Oh dear, we were hoping he'd obviously be able to bring the EVE team back up in the standings, but that's going to cost him a heap of positions as well with how close the grid is. And both the EVE drivers have got penalties now. And look at Tony. Oh, his contact there. Oh, I don't know whether he was trying to make a move coming into the corner, but is there damage to that car? No, but watch out for Ryan in the background. Ryan goes into the back of the Aston Martin as well. It's all kicking off here. It's all slowed down for a second. I'm not sure what's happened, and everyone's been brought back together onto the final lap.
I think this
not final lap, penultimate.
This,
No, it is. No, it is. No,
it-
sorry.
It is now the final lap of the race as Joe Murphy may be playing a little bit of a game through the stadium section to slow everyone back up, to cause Tony to worry about the drivers behind and not worry about the driver ahead, as Sergio and Brando going side by side through turn 1 into turn 2, and Brando's lost that position. Here comes Sergio again. Could we see a move for the P2? I don't think so, but they are side by side, so maybe. Here comes Tony. He's doing a really good job. He's got the inside for turn 5, and Joe Murphy is off the track, and Ryan is going to hug the inside. Joe Murphy's got a 3-second time penalty, and all of a sudden this is all gone out of hand for Joe Murphy.
Side by side into 7, and Ryan thinks better of it. Tony's gone and checked out. I think that's second secured, but that could be a trip to the stewards for both drivers with the contact coming into 3 and 4. 4 and 5, but no one making any moves from the final couple of corners. I don't think no one's brave enough, Gareth, and I think I get back with Azim to finish the race.
What a victory for Azim. As soon as they got into the lead of the race, it looked like they had it all in control. Here comes Tony and Joe Murphy across the line, and everyone else is coming across the line now, and it's very, very close between them all, and penalties going to change the layout of this one, in fact. And loads of penalties being served there. So it's the layout of this one has changed quite a bit because of it, and we'll go down the order very, very closely. But look at that. TF10, second and third.
Yeah, that's brilliant for them, and they should be able to hold the lead of the standings with... they definitely will. I was still looking with Sergio with that penalty. I think he was 6th or 7th in the end, which obviously cost the team there. But yeah, I'm sure TF10 boys will be really happy with that result there.
Jerome getting driver of the day, and well, let us know in the chat who you think driver of the day should be. Should it be Azim after a very, very quality race for them, or should it be Jerome? Should it be anyone else through it? It would be great to hear your thoughts in the chat. Ollie, who do you think driver of the day should... Actually, before we go there, I'll let you think about it, give you a couple of seconds to think about it, but let's go down the order. Starting on third on the grid, Azim takes victory tonight, and Tony Richet in second, with Brando in third, rounding out the podium. Then there was Joe Murphy in fourth, fifth going to NLR Ryan, Alex Lofer ending up in P6. Seventh is Sergio, eighth to Ivan, the other Ferrari driver there. OVR and Jerome in ninth place after starting 19th on the grid for keeping out of the penalties. That is a very, very good job for the OVR driver. And rounding out the top 10 is BRT Silo. Then the next 5 point scoring positions are Kevin, Nassim, Brian, Dan and Nick. Chorizo was rounding out the finishers in 16th place, and non-finishers to Raptor, Spicer, Brent and Ionis. There. Well, then, who was your driver of the day then, Ollie?
I think I got to go Azim, Gareth, third to first, kept the car in the right place and checked out at the end. I don't think you can go wrong. Obviously, plenty of great drivers. Tony was fantastic, as was Brando there near the end. Murphy with a mistake near the end, and I think there might be a trip to the stewards for a couple of the drivers at the very end there. But another fantastic race here in competitive speed series. You know, it's back to back to back, Gareth. They just keep it coming.
Keep it coming, indeed. It's been a great Mexican Grand Prix. Let's see where we are next week at round 8, and that is where we will be going to the Marina Bay circuit in Singapore, which always another track like Abu Dhabi, like you mentioned earlier on, has had some track changes which could really show some great racing as well. So we'll have to wait and see how next week pans out. And then there is, I believe, a break weekend between that before China, the Mystery Grand Prix, Jeddah, and then the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi. I'm just going to quickly check to see if we are going to get anyone join us, but let's just quickly talk about BRT, because they controlled that for a little bit. Well, I want to say at least half that race.
Yeah, 17 laps. You know, they had the lead until Azim got by, and they were doing well, and they were still up there. And then that speeding penalty into the pits cost Silo, and then another penalty, obviously, in Murphy with contact near the end, which wasn't ideal. And getting the penalty as well, which obviously we'll have to wait and see whether that that sticks or not. But yeah, they'll be kicking themselves, Gareth, because they could have at least got double podium there in that race, and they with the way that finished with TF10 in second and third, they'll jump up the standings significantly.
And it feels like we are, I don't know, I don't want to say bashing BRT, but for a team that are so good, it looks like they're going through a little bit of a slump at the moment. So let's hope that stops and the slump stops and they can really show what they are capable of, because it looked like we were going to get a BRT show early on.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, and it didn't go the way. That's racing for you, Gareth. You know, the grid changed completely, as it always does, and unfortunately, you know, BRT, you know, they got a good haul of points, but you know they'll be disappointed with not getting on the podium at all there. And yeah, TF10 I'm sure will be obviously the happiest of the bunch with a good haul of points for them, and they should be able to extend the lead here. Yeah, they will. Sorry, extend the lead over ET8 to currently 22, but see that will go up. I'm not going to do the math right now, Gareth. It's
too late.
It's half an hour on a Sunday night. I won't be doing that.
This is why we've got spreadsheets and stuff, isn't it? Yeah, the spreadsheets are for that.
Yeah, someone is updating at the moment, it looks like, but they've not done it just yet. But yeah, no, it's yeah, I think TF10 would be happiest out of that. ET8 obviously with Azim getting the win, just they'll be gutted obviously with Sergioli, you know, getting a penalty late on, and could have been himself up there as well. You know, he was at one point in fourth with penalties, and then yeah, he got himself a penalty, so not ideal for ET8, but yeah, well, we'll see how it all kicks off next week at Singapore, which I'm sure will be an interesting race to say the least. How it all with another is it our first street circuit of the year? Trying to go, I think back and have a quick.
Yeah, technically you can class Australia as a street circuit, but it is mainly the first street circuit of the year. And then Abu Dhabi around 11. We don't know what round 10 is yet. It could be Monaco, people. Could be Monaco. Stay and wait and be. Well, time will tell. Anyway, that is round 7. Mexico done and dusted. We have had an absolute crazy one in the wet in the Mexico City Grand Prix, and what a one it was indeed. But thank you so much for joining. It was a victory for ET8 Azim in the end, which just helps their title charge. But for now, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.